Well, welcome to the outside. I knew I could survive out here. Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to this increasingly empty, I think would be the nicest way of saying it, YouTube channel. There's been a lot going on currently. There has been a lot going on currently. That doesn't make much sense now, does it? Already we're going to have to revise that. Fuck it, I'm not editing this. I've not got the time of day, or the will. You're just going to have to, it's going to be Superfluous, full, raw and uncut. So, first order of business, this is going to be another one of those update videos where I spend most of it talking about something else. So if you do just want some news, then skip to the time that is going to appear here, but not as an annotation because I cannot be fucked with them either. So, the point of this video is to espouse my love for Shadowrun, because I've been playing way too much of it recently, and I feel I need to at least have a semblance of productivity out of it, because otherwise it will have been a complete and utter waste of my time. Not a waste, you understand, it would have just been poorly applied in lieu of other things that I could have been doing. So, Shadowrun. Shadowrun started life as, I believe, a tabletop RPG, and was then made into a SNES game. Oh god, I can't remember who made it into it now. These people. And since then, the IP has been taken on by Harebrained Schemes as a developer after they kickstarted the project Shadowrun Returns, which was released in this year. As you can see, I prepared fully for this video. Subsequent to Shadowrun Returns, we had Shadowrun Dragonfall, which I think was initially marketed as like a standalone expansion pack for the Shadowrun Returns, but it's essentially just a completely different game, so treat it as such. And then finally we got Shadowrun Hong Kong in this year. All of which made by the same developer, and all of which bloody brilliant, put lightly. So the format they follow is their sort of top-down, turn-based tactical RPGs, sort of like a mixture between XCOM and FFTA, if FFTA was a bit less childishly simple, and XCOM had more fantasy and less aliens. So not really much like either of them, but close enough that you get the point, I feel. So they both follow that sort of format, and all three of them follow that format, and it's essentially incredibly compelling gameplay. The mixture of like taking cover from gunfire and then returning fire with a massive fireball, that speaks to something deep inside, probably the desire to be able to cast magic spells, which I've always wanted to do. I mean, who hasn't? So that gameplay, which serves as an excellent backdrop for any game. If you're out there, developers, and you're thinking, maybe we should make a game a bit like that, please do, because I am a complete sucker for them. You then take that and build off it an incredibly, incredibly rich world, and that is what you have in Shadowrun. It's set... the games are set in different periods of time, but they're all set after an event that happened in 2012 called The Awakening, as opposed to just like the London Olympics. And that event was responsible for all the sort of your usual fantasy creatures all moseying on over from wherever they were before and coming to Earth, the new awakened Earth. And so what you end up with is a mixture of sort of cyberpunk and fantasy in the far future that's actually only 40 years away. I think that sums it up pretty well. So that forms the backdrop, and then you take on the role of the titular Shadowrunner. Shadowrunner is somebody who are essentially a mercenary for hire, only for some reason they're way cooler, but God knows why. They tend to be fairly morally bankrupt and will just take work from the highest bidder. Incidentally, companies, if you're looking for somebody to do something morally questionable, so yes, as the Shadowrunner, you then go on essentially a different adventure in each game. In the original, you are a Shadowrunner from the start, and you receive a message from one of your friends saying that he's dead, which is an interesting setup. I would love to do that, by the way, just set up something that sent out to all my friends when I died. Hi guys, I've snuffed it, come and avenge me. So you receive this message, and then that takes you to Seattle, and you get embroiled in various different factions and gang wars, and essentially it all culminates in a plot to destroy the world, because all the best things in life do. In Dragonfall, you are again a runner, but this time they introduce a permanent team, which is probably one of the best things they could do, because that way, rather than just hiring out different mercenaries to help you along your way, you actually get to know the members of your team, and you start to build up a rapport with them. It's all good stuff. The writing is probably the strongest part of these games. I mean, the gameplay's really good, but it's the writing that keeps you hooked, I feel, because it's always got. There's a lot of reading to do, but even if you just want to skim over and read the dialogue, you'll get enough of the game that it keeps you hooked. So yes, Dragonfall, you play as a runner with a team. You're the newest member onto this team, and so some of them don't trust you, etc., etc. You get the gist. But there is a conspiracy uncovered, or you go on a shadow run to a big mansion, thinking, oh, we're just going to get some data from the servers in the basement and get paid by the client. All's well that ends well. But on your quest, your Decker, which I'll get to in a second, gets their brain fried by some sort of hyper-intelligent AI, and you end up getting embroiled again, I love that word, into a sort of network of deceit, and you end up going after this AI, trying to figure out what it is, what it wants, why on earth it was there in the first place, and what the greater conspiracy is. And then in Shadowrun Hong Kong, you end up having to kill a god, so they went full Japan on that one. But to get back to my earlier point, one of the other really cool features of the game is decking. So you have the real world, where everybody hangs around and is all squidgy, and then certain characters are able to deck into cyberspace, which essentially is just entering the Matrix. I think they even call it the Matrix, which isn't trying, really. And so inside the Matrix, you have access to various different abilities. You can hack computers from in there, and there's a whole different battle system, or Rather, it's the same battle system with a whole new suite of abilities. And then by the time we get to Shadowrun Hong Kong, they've introduced Matrix Stealth, which is a bit glurgy, but, you know, gets by. Yeah, I'm running out of things to say simply because I don't really have much criticism for the games. They're buggy, that's something. They're likely to crash once or twice, so save regularly. And Shadowrun Returns isn't very polished once you've played the other two. That's pretty much the limit of it. Like, I can't think of anything more to criticise them for. Essentially what I'm saying is buy Shadowrun, all three of them, right now, because you'll probably lose a good 40 or 50 hours of your life to it. Especially after they did the add-on expansion thing for Hong Kong, because that was just essentially another extra game on the end. And I'm all for companies releasing extra games for free if I really like them. So, well done, Harebrained Schemes. Please bring out another one. I'm waiting desperately for it. Sorry, this fly is somewhat irksome. Right, well, I think that pretty much covers the waffly side of the video. Now, news. Everybody likes some news. News! Sorry, headphone listeners. The news is that I'm not going to be able to make videos for bloody ages now. I'm back at university, but 'tis not the university I normally attend. I'm sure there's some stalker out there in the comments who knows exactly where I am, just based on the type of tree and the vague layout of the pillars around me. So I won't bother telling you, but suffice to say, the weather is somewhat nicer here. And the schooling system is somewhat more hectic. In Core Blimey, good old England land, we have to essentially all of your marks, in my experience, come from one exam at the very end, and if you don't revise enough for it, that's on you, sunshine. But here in the land of the free and the home of the brave, the attitude is much more do lots of work constantly or you won't get your grade. Only the short one this time. I'm glad I waited till the hour. Yeah, so I have a lot more work than I'm used to. God knows how people manage to juggle a job with these degrees. It's a fucking nightmare. Yeah. So I have kind of a lot of work on that front, and, you know, in terms of pecking order, it's work, and then appropriate human contact, and then personal leisure, and then maybe YouTube, and only then. So, yeah, this is probably going to be a bit neglected, but the other news is that I am not going to have sole creative control over what goes up on this platform. Because I've handed over the reins to my colleague Matthew, so when he gets round to it, you'll probably have some videos from him. I might make something occasionally, no guarantees, frankly. So you'll still get videos from this channel, just don't think that they're going to be the same that they always were. We stand for change. I probably went off the edge of the camera with that one, but I don't really care. Yeah, I've waffled long enough. Fuck it. Bye!